Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian up here on Capitol Hill at the Rayburn House office building for the National Training and Simulation Association's annual Congressional Expo, and it's our honor to be talking to retired United States Navy Rear Admiral Jim Robb, who is the president of NTSA. Sir, good seeing you again, and pretty good event.
Really good event. Had a great turnout with especially government agencies. So we've got NASA here, Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology, the Army Modeling and Simulation Center, the Air Force is all represented. Academia is here, as well as big industry and small. Huntington Ingalls Digital Shipbuilding Program is represented here, so it's exciting. I've seen a lot of positive buzz.
Let's talk a little bit about the message, right? You and I have an opportunity to talk every year. What are some of the big messages you guys are delivering this year? The technology is maturing more. Pentagon is struggling with the pilot shortfall that it's trying to address. That there are a lot of folks who say, hey, look, commercial industry and their approach to training and simulation may offer some answers there. What are some messages you guys are trying to deliver to the Hill this year?
Well, the basic outreach we have here is education. Essentially trying to educate Congress and the staff on the potential and the ways things have to change, because they are changing in the real world, and a lot of times the bureaucracy doesn't really see it, understand it, or really take action on it. And one of the really powerful things that's happening is the digitization of everything. So digital cars, boats, ships, digital education, digital social media. And when you look at the strength of the amount of data that's being pulled by companies like Facebook and Google, and they are harvesting your personal information and then transforming it into product. The same thing is happening when they assess your performance. They're going to give you an advertisement. We want to do the same things for education, for training, where we digitize the whole process, get a lot of performance information, and then feed that back into the training system to where we can provide tailored experiences that are providing the best content through the best medium, and then that the machine assessments and can actually mitigate at a particular rate that's appropriate or accelerate. These are all really, really powerful things, and they're happening now. We just haven't really been able to get the leadership to really see and focus how the real world is actually the future. And it's in many cases the government we got to get them moving faster.
We talked to Bobby Scott, Virginia Democrat, who's chairman of the Education and Workforce Committee, and he talked about the role of sort of embracing the technology more broadly for education more broadly. Talk to us about the role of that in education, even down to an elementary school level, right? I mean, we've got kids who are very digital native now. They're very comfortable with iPhones, iPads, and smart devices in general. What's sort of a broader way to think about this? And as you said, changing the bureaucracy or bureaucracies. What's the right way for government to look at how to sort of popularize and spread the technology for just even the most basic education purposes?
Well, you really have to go down each lane. The education system is one lane. The medical, manufacturing, ideas, analysis they don't come together. So we have to attack them as tentacles, essentially. The same ideas of improving human performance exist throughout all of them. They could be in the medical, where you're trying to train someone to do a procedure better or assess their performance and feed that back to them. So,
and the University of Alabama has their system right here.
They're here as you speak. We also see new technologies on the education side, where you're going to present content to a student or hire. You're going to get feedback about how they interact with that content, and then you're going to assess and create a profile for that individual, which is what's the best way to teach them. Are they a visual? Are they a sensory? How do they react to social environments? And you're going to actually then tailor the content presentation to them based on that information. I'll give you an example where in flight simulation, where when I used to get into flight simulator, I'd do my business, and I had an instructor there. And if I landed and got the OK3 wire, then it was a good thing, and life was good. But today, you have the capability of bringing all this technology, visual, eye tracking, to where you're collecting so much better information. It could be even human factors like heart rate and things like that. Where have you cognitively loaded this person? Are they stressed? Are they reacting properly? Are they looking in the right places? Are they seeing, are they scanning the cockpit correctly? Do they have, how are they interacting with the sensations? So these, as a system, can then be brought back to very creatively help them progress at their own rate. And then you can actually get to where the machine would help them in terms of resisting activities that are not productive. So you're giving them a holistic training presentation, and then you can go replay it and redo it, and a lot of this you can do at home. So it's we have not ever harvested all this data that we have, and I think that's the exceptional opportunity in all of these areas.
And last question, right? You were a distinguished aviator. You mentioned OK3 wire. You were an F-14, an early F-14 driver at that. The military has a certain way of training people, right? I mean, this is the pipeline, this is how you go through it. But the commercial industry, for example, the first time you have passengers in the back of the airplane is actually the first time you're flying an airplane. 1,500 simulator hours with a lot of fidelity go before that. And everybody understands there's a difference in the missions, but there's a lot of commonality in how you can train. What's the right way for the department to think about how to train and think about how to train differently to take advantage of this technology? Because as a general rule, the services have a very traditional approach to how they train people. Mm-hmm. How do they need to think differently about that, especially at a time when each of the services is suffering with a pilot retention and pilot generation problem?
Well, I'll give you an example of things we're doing, say on the Air Force pilot accession problem, is trying to improve the throughput within the training program, the pipeline. We're partnering up with a company called the Virtual Flight Academy to do pre-accession evaluations and training on laptop computers and small simulators that give actual content and assessment at the high school, college level, and then take that portfolio, again, building profiles of individuals, identifying the really superstars, stars, and others that could be superstars with the right training, and then acting on that independently. In other words, it's not block training, so everybody shows up at once, goes through the same piece. You're treating people like individuals. You're treating them digitally to their best, and then you're helping them to create the best behavior that they can. And as you go through workforce development anywhere, these same principles apply. How does the individual need to be remediated or improved? What areas are they weak? What's the best way to help a training system present the right content, in a way that's positive? And then how can you collect all that information to do a lifetime of learning assessment? In other words, it's you check in to training day one, and you have a profile that continues to follow you forever. And that way the government can know, not just within mechanics or avionics, that you start to create a real digital footprint of the individual that they are good in these things, and they have gone and shown competencies in these things. And just like in the education system at the undergraduate level, we're going away from these big degrees to the micro degrees to certificates for where you build a portfolio of accomplishment in much more smaller pieces. And this is critical because a lot of these things like cyber, you need a very broad base of expertise. It could be encryption, IT, computers, and you don't get that. That's the future of the workforce.
Jim Robb, retired United States Navy Rear Admiral and the President of National Training and Simulation Association. Always a pleasure, sir. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you later to give us, as we're closer to ITSEC, a little bit of an update on what folks should expect.
Looking good.